we doing, everybody? And welcome in to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It is Monday, August 19th, a fantastic Monday here in the great state of Wisconsin, or wherever you are tuning in today. I hope it's a fantastic day there too, right? I hope it's a fantastic day. It's never great to be Monday, right? Mondays aren't great. But hey, when you have as good of a weekend as Wisconsin sports did, well, outside, I'm watching the Packer game as it's going on right now. So I don't know how that's going to fare, but it's preseason. It doesn't really matter. But if you have as good of a weekend as what Wisconsin sports did with the Brewers, then you got to be excited heading into the next week, right? You got to be excited. And that is where we're at right now. We are excited. I want to talk about that Brewers series today. I want to talk about the Dodgers series. I want to talk about the Guardians series. I want to wrap up that homestand that the Brewers just had, a fantastic homestand. I want to look at that. I want to look around the league today. I want to look at the Bucks schedule release, get into that because they did release the 2024-25 schedule for the Bucks. I want to get into that today. And then also the Badgers football team. If football is close, right? We got one more week, one more Saturday, right? Technically, this last weekend Saturday was the last Saturday it was the last Saturday without college football. Now we have to wait another weekend for the Badgers to play because, they don't play until the following week. But we got lots to get into Badger-wise. And Packers, I'm going to get into them more tomorrow there, recap the second preseason game there. But with that, let's get into it. Let's get into it right away here let's start with the Badgers. Let's start with the Badger football. Let's start with my first question of the day that I've been seeing a lot of people talking about out there, and that is with the loss of Braylon Allen in Madison, how does that affect or not affect Wisconsin? So, is it the worst thing that he's gone? Is it, detrimental to the team? How does that really stand there? So, my initial thought was, well, how do you lose a back like Braylon Allen and you can just sit there and say, well, we didn't lose that much. We're fine, right? We're fine. How can you sit there and say that? Well, I got to thinking about it. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, this guy last year, 984 yards. 12 touchdowns. He had an outstanding year, just under 1,000 yard rushing on the season. Outstanding back. But if you're an opposing defense taking on the Green Bay Packers, I'm watching the Packers, taking on the Badgers. There we go, taking on the Badgers. If you're an opposing defense taking on the Badgers, where's your initial thought the ball is going to go, right? Braylon Allen, right? It's going to go to Braylon Allen. That becomes a problem with a lot of these teams out there who have that one sole star, right? There's one star on the entire roster. We can key in on that star. We can try, if we eliminate that star, now they got to find other places to go with football. And at times, Wisconsin was stagnant because when Braylon Allen couldn't get it going, and we saw that in many games where Braylon Allen couldn't get it going and Wisconsin was stagnant, right? They were stagnant. So my thought is, okay, yes, you do. You lose an outstanding back, right? But Badgers have some good backs, right? They still have, they have some solid backs back there yet. So I'm not too, you look at the running back room, you're going to have, we know the man, Chesma, right? Malusi's going to be back in there. But then you have some pretty promising young playmakers coming in, right? Dupree's in there. We're going to see Dillion Jones. I believe we're going to see Jones in there. Tyree Walker, I believe he transferred in. He was the transfer from, was he from USC? Oklahoma. Sorry about that. Oklahoma. But Tyree Walker in there. He's a fantastic back. Last season, you look at his stats from last season there, and he rushed for just under 500 yards, had over 500 yards in total with that and receiving there. But a solid back all the way around. So you add Tyree Walker in the room. You also have Chesma, you have Dupree, you have Dillion Jones. You have a cast of characters now in the backfield, not just one sole guy. Now, is it okay to have one sole guy in Braylon Allen? Yes, sir, it is, because it's pretty easy when you can just say, give it to Braylon and let him work, right? But as I was saying, with defenses keying in on that, well, they know where you're going. High percentage chance they're going to do what they can to shut that guy down. And if your offensive line isn't up to snuff to be able to, I don't know, kick some guys out, whatever you got to do to open up holes for Braylon Allen, well, like we saw, Wisconsin's offense goes stagnant. So to me, it is a loss. It is a loss. You don't lose a dynamic back like Braylon Allen and say it's just, it's A-okay. It's not this, a loss or anything like that. But, end of the day, I think Wisconsin may benefit from not having that standout guy quite yet, right? I think Dupree, I think Dillian Jones, I think Tyree Walker could be very good in the backfield too, along with Nate White. I mean, a lot of people, he's another back that's coming in, a freshman there. That is another back where guys got to watch out for him too. They got to watch out for him too. They have a loaded up backfield of a lot of guys with a lot of potential, right? Not a loaded up backfield to the sense of we already have stars in the room. You're not talking about the years of Jonathan Taylor, Monte Ball, Melvin Gordon. You don't have those guys in the room right now. You might have guys who are going to develop into that, but you don't have those guys sitting there at this moment, right? It's going to be a little bit of a developing with those guys in that backfield, but having a guy like Chesma in there, along with a guy, even look at Jackson Aker, right? He's still coming back, right? The big fella there coming back in the backfield. You have some experience, right? Tyree Walker, also a senior. You have experience in that backfield. You have youth in that backfield. Though you did lose Braylon Allen, which isn't great, right? I don't know if the Badgers take a huge step backwards. I don't think they do. Because now it opens up the field for guys like Vinny Anthony and Will Pauling. You also are going to be... Quincy Burrows is a guy that a lot of people aren't talking about, but Quincy Burrows he has a lot of potential to be a very good pass catcher for Wisconsin. And then also, like Trek Kikawana, he's also a dynamic guy in the slot. And then Bryson Green, CJ Williams. There is a lot of talent. I believe there is a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball for the Badgers. Now it's just about how does Phil Longo's offense look in year 2, right? We saw it in year 1. A lot of people weren't impressed. Now, was that partially because of Tanner Mordecai? A lot of people didn't like the way that Tanner Mordecai ran the offense. He was more of a run-first guy. When the pressure was on, he was bailing, which, I mean, yes, at times you got to, right? You got to get out and scramble. That's okay. But sometimes you got to stand in there, step up, take a hit, make a throw, right? And I thought there was lots of times last year where Tanner Mordecai could have done something like that, and he bailed on the play too soon, and then you look 2 seconds later, and it's like, he could have stood in there, and he had Will Pauling, or he could have stood in there, and he had Bryson Green. Hopefully, Phil Longo's offense, like I was saying there, in year 2, that all starts to flow. You have these guys working together in the wide receiver room, the line, the running back room's been working together all summer, all fall long now, right? And also Tyler Van Dyke coming in, right? Tyler Van Dyke coming from Miami. They run a sort of an air raid offense down in Miami. Having him come into the now Dairy Raid offense, right? Can't forget, it's called the Dairy Raid up here. Into that Dairy Raid offense, hopefully, it's a little bit of an easier transition for him jumping in now. I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to be big time. I think Wisconsin's offense has a lot of potential going into this season here. And I want to get to the depth chart a little bit. I've seen a lot of people talking about the depth chart, who they believe is going to be in each spot there. Evan Flood has released his depth chart that he believes Wisconsin will be sitting at. I want to go over some of those depth charts and just kind of see where they have some of these guys sitting. We know the quarterback room is settled with Tyler Van Dyke. I want to see where everybody else is kind of ranking right now to a lot of the experts out there. But right now, Badgers, they're kind of winding down with the fall camp. Like I said, I mean, we're getting closer and closer to opening kickoff, right? I believe August 30th. Is the first game there for Wisconsin. It's Friday night. I always forget it's a Friday night. I was thinking the 31st there, but August 30th will be the opening kickoff there with Western Michigan, 8 o'clock there. So getting closer and closer to that opening kickoff for Wisconsin. And they're kind of winding down with the physical live action approach at practice, from what I've heard now. it looks like Luke Fickle is going to be leaning more towards like a mental approach with these guys, getting their minds right, getting them healthy, getting them ready to go this week into next week. They're going to do little bits and pieces here and there with the live action and everything like that. Don't think that they're going to completely bail on touching each other for, 2 weeks here, right? That'd be crazy. You you couldn't prepare for Western Michigan doing something like that. But they're trying to lean more towards this to keep guys healthy, avoid injuries in practice. Sometimes there's non-contact injuries. You can't avoid those. But get guys healthy, get them right, get their bodies fueled back up. It's been a strenuous summer camp, fall camp. It's been strenuous getting them in there. Now you just want to relax a little bit here, get prepared, get ready to rock and roll for Western Michigan. It's not a huge game, right? It's not a huge game versus Western Michigan, but it could be a statement game. You want to make a statement early on, right? Last season, I do recall that Buffalo game was a close one. I was at that game against Buffalo, and that was a very close game. 38-17 was the final. It did not feel like that. It did not feel like that when we went down there. Me and the wife went down there. We were watching the game. It was, back and forth early on. Offense couldn't get going. And then the defense kind of picked up the pieces. Got, a couple turnovers here and there. If Buffalo, I believe if I'm thinking right, if Buffalo's quarterback in that game would not have thrown so many interceptions against Wisconsin, I truthfully believe that might have been a different game we were talking about. That might have been a different game because if I'm not mistaken, he had like 4 picks in that game. I was just pulling that up here. He did not have any interceptions. I swear to Pete, I thought he had some interceptions in that game there. It must have been just ill-advised throws that I was thinking of. Must have been just ill-advised throws because it really, something with their quarterback in that game where I was sitting there, I recall I was sitting there, I was like, if he could make that throw, this wouldn't be good right now. So, I'm getting a little bit off there, but you have those early season matchups where some of these lesser teams come in and they surprise you, right? They surprise you. You aren't ready for them. They gut punch you, and then they punch you again, right? And you aren't ready for it. It happens a lot. And the good teams end up finding a way to win those games. I think Western Michigan upset Michigan at one point when they were highly ranked. So there's lots of those over the years. So the Badgers have to avoid early on here. Get the ones that you're supposed to get because you have, daunting matchups there. Number 5, Alabama. Number 23, USC on the schedule. Number 8, Penn State. Number 25, Iowa. Number 3, Oregon. The Big Ten slate's a gauntlet for you. And you still got Alabama on the outside of that too. So you got to get these ones that you're supposed to get because you don't want to have one of them hanging over your head when you got to go face Oregon or you got to go on the road to Iowa. You don't want to be thinking about, hey, we have 2 losses on the year only, but one of them was to South Dakota because they just came into Camp Randall and just showed us where the bear shits in the woods, right? We don't want that. You don't want none of that. So Badgers got to take care of business early, and Luke Fickle is trying to get them ready to go in that sense there. But let's look over at the depth charts. Let's look at this depth chart that I believe it was Evan Flood who came out with his depth chart here. Yes, it was Evan Flood there. And quarterback room, like I said, we have that one kind of figured out. Tyler Van Dyke, Braden Locke, those are your 2. 1 to it there in order. And then Mabry Matatour, the freshman, will be in that third line right now. In the running back spot, we see Chesma. In the 1A, 1B, Tyree Walker. So you think about that, you have 2 older dynamic backs who will be sitting there 1 and 2, 1A, 1B in that rotation there of running backs. And then in that third spot, we see Jackson Aker, the junior there, the big fella. I expect to see a lot out of Jackson Aker in short yardage sets. That would be where I expect to see Jackson Aker. You get to them situations where it's 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1, right? You need that 1 yard. That's where I expect to see Jackson Aker doing his business. I think that is where we're going to see him. Maybe on passing plays, we might see him in there, but I would say Tyree Walker is going to be in there on passing plays, maybe a little bit of Chesma too. It's something you can spread out, but I mean, for me, Jackson Akers, my big back. He's in there, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. They know where it's coming. We're going right up the pipe. We're trying to get that first down. That's my big back. That's the guy I want in there. So, I mean, that's a dangerous 1-2 punch. That is a dangerous 1-2 punch with Tyree Walker and Malusi. And then having that big back there, almost like a fullback. Jackson Akers like a fullback, back, hybrid. He's a little bit of both. He's got a little bit of speed, but he's got the power. He's got the ability to bull his way forward, right? So gotta love that. Gotta love that. I love the running back room for Wisconsin, and that's not to mention the guys that I was mentioning before there in Jones and Dupree and White. I think all those guys could play significant roles for the Badgers at some point in this season here, depending on how everything shakes out. You never know with injuries, barring, you hope not, right? But you never know how it's going to shake out. I think having that deep of a running back room is huge. And I'm about to mention another room that has a lot of depth, and you got to love it. In the wide receiver room right now. So looking at your main 3 guys right now for the Badgers, we're going to see Bryson Green, Will Pauling in the slot position there, and then we're going to see Vinny Anthony. So Vinny Anthony, that dude's got some wheels. I don't know if anybody else has watched him a little bit here and there, but Vinny Anthony has got some wheels to him. This guy has got some definite burner speed. So Bryson Green's the same way. He's got some burner speed too. So you got 2 guys on the outside who can take the top off of a defense. CJ Williams, big-bodied receiver, can get up and get him there. So CJ Williams is going to be that number 2 behind Bryson Green there. Joseph Gritham behind them. And then we see on the other side, Vinny Anthony in that 1, Chris Brooks Jr., and then Tyrell Henry sitting in there also. And then we look in that slot position. We see Trek Kakahuna, and then we see Con Barry Johnson also in there for the Badgers. And you listen to what Will Pauling had to say. And he was talking about the depth of talent that the Badgers have at the wide receiver position. So they asked him, and he said, we got a lot of guys in our receiver room that are going to make a lot of plays for us this year. Guys like Bryson Green, big-body guys that can go up and make a jump ball plays. And obviously, you got guys on the side like myself and a kid named Trek Kakahuna, who I think is going to turn a lot of heads this year. So he said, from top to bottom, I just think we have so much depth in the room. And then he said, like I said, it all goes back to confidence. We got a lot of guys that were here last year that are going to only grow from what they did last year, then do some big things for us this year. He also said it all goes, he went on a little bit here, but hearing something like that from Will Pauling there, and then also we didn't even mention in there, but you got, like I said earlier, Quincy Burrows is also returning there. So guys that they expect to take big steps forward this season, and if you have this much depth, if the talent comes along with it, man, oh man, watch out. Watch out, because there's a lot of good defenses that the Badgers are going to face this year. I believe Alabama's going to have a good defense this season. Iowa always does. Penn State has a solid defense. Oregon's got a good defense. Nebraska, I believe, is going to have a solid defense. Northwestern always finds ways, right? And Rutgers has got some good pieces in there. They're going to face some good secondaries in this next season. You're going to need talent. You're going to need receivers that can blow the top off, and I think the Badgers do have that. I really do. I think the Badgers do have that in that room. In the tight end department, we got Tucker Ashcraft, the sophomore, coming back right now, believed to be in front, the leading candidate to get the number 1 spot. Riley Nokakowski, the senior, will be in that number 2, and then Jackson McGowan, the sophomore, will also be in there. Jack Nelson, Joe Brunner, Jake Renfro, Joe Huber, and Riley Malman will be sitting in there on the first team offensive line. Second team, Kevin Haywood, JP Benswagel, Kerry Kananko, Colin Kuberly, and Emerson Mandel will be in there. 3 freshmen on the secondary line there, with a senior and a junior in there also. A lot of depth at the offensive line too. A lot of depth. I mean, you're looking at the Badgers, a lot of true freshmen in the 2 deep. They also have Barrett Nelson, who may take that step to the second team right tackle position there to take over for Everson Mandel there. But, I mean, outside of that, it's kind of, they're not set in stone, but this is pretty darn close. This is pretty darn close from what we've seen in training camp so far. For the defensive line, I believe this is where it's going to shake out right now. James Thompson Jr. is going to take in the defensive line position. Kurt Neal, the sophomore, will be in there, and Ben Barton will also be in there. 2 seniors and a sophomore in there. Big old Ben Barton handling down the middle of that defense. Looking at the inside linebacker position, I believe you're going to see Jake Chaney in there, and you're going to see Thomas in there. Yaheem Thomas also in there for Wisconsin. And then in the other spots, Christian Alargo and Tackett Curtis are backing those 2 up there. Outside linebacker, you're going to have the transfer there in John Poose and Leon Lowry filling in there. Those 2 are splitting in that one spot there. And then also Daryl Peterson, who has stood out tremendously in training camp right now. Speed, athleticism, ability to get off a block and get in the backfield and be a run and pass threat there for Wisconsin. So Daryl Peterson will be a guy to keep your eye on there in that linebacker room. Looking at the secondary right now, Ricardo Hallman, we all know. Don't sleep on Ricardo Hallman potentially being one of the better or best cornerbacks in the Big Ten. Took a huge step forward last season. I expect more from him this season here. Max Laffey will be in there in the nickel, and then Neezer for Queen will also be in there in the nickel set for Wisconsin. Xavier Lucas, Jonas DeCuna. I mean, there's a lot of depth all the way around for Wisconsin. I guess end of the day, you look at this, Hunter Wooler will be in there. Kamau Latu will also be out there. Preston Zachman will be out there. I mean, end of the day. And Vinny Anthony returning kicks. That's going to be dynamic. That's going to be a dynamic right there. End of the day, just to wrap it up with the Badgers depth chart there. End of the day, there is going to be a lot of depth for Wisconsin at a lot of crucial positions, right? Offensive line, wide receiver room, running back room, and secondary. A lot of talented second team guys, a lot of talent backing up these starters. So either way, whatever way it shakes out, from what Evan Flood reported, is the projected depth chart leading up to this week 1 matchup with Western Michigan, and to what it might actually boil down to. No matter which way they go, there is talent, depth, and everything all the way down this Badgers roster. You gotta love it. You gotta love what you're seeing in Wisconsin right now, because it's building towards something, right? I don't know what, but I'm kind of finally seeing the Badgers building towards something great. And I can't wait to see the product. I can't wait to see the end product here, because I got a feeling, end of the day, in the near future, we're going to be talking about some highly ranked Badger teams. If it keeps trending in this direction. Put it on paper. Put it on paper right now. The next 3 years. That's a wide window. But this Badger team will be up near the top of the Big Ten. I think they will be staying right at the top of the Big Ten. I think they will be able to compete with a lot of these big dogs that are coming in now. This is an impressive group that they have in now, and I think with the recruiting classes they keep bringing in, transfer portal, everything like that, I think they are building towards something fantastic right now. So with that, I want to get to the Bucks a little bit here, and then I want to get to the Brewers. So before we get there, though, I want to mention the great sponsors of the show that make this whole thing happen. First, Game Day Supply in Alaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply in Alaska to help your team get the sweetest gear. Find them on Facebook at Game Day Supply or online at GameDaySupply.net. Also, Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville, Wisconsin. Marshfield Motor Speedway is located just 3 miles outside of Marshfield on County Road H. Get down there this summer. Tons of family fun for all ages. Great food, great drinks, great atmosphere. Nothing better than a great summer day or night down at the track. Marshfield Motor Speedway's there. Your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy Sue or Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell. Find them on Facebook at your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield there. And also Sports Scene, Sports Cards and Memorabilia, located in the Marshfield Mall in Marshfield, Wisconsin. Get down there and see Al. He has everything you need, from sporting cards, memorabilia, jerseys, model stock cars. He's got it all. Sports Scene in Marshfield. Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. If you've been injured recently, whether it was at work, whether you were mowing the lawn, weed whacking, whatever you're doing outside. Maybe you were paving the driveway. I don't know what you were doing. You're doing something maybe you shouldn't have, right? And you felt something tear pop. You went down to the doctor. They said you better see a physical therapist. I cannot tell you who would be a better guy to go and see than Chad at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. He'll get you right. He'll get you back mowing the lawn, back weed whacking, back doing whatever you were doing, feeling better than ever. Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin there. So with that, let's get to the Bucks schedule. Came out last week there. Didn't get to it. Lots of good stuff happening last week, so I didn't get to it. But this was good stuff, right? Outside of one part that I didn't understand quite, and apparently Giannis didn't either, but lots of good stuff happening last week, so I didn't get to it. But we see the schedule release, right? Open up October 23rd against the Philadelphia 76ers. Not a bad opening game, right? Start in the East. Start the domination, right? Start the domination early on there in the East. Then you got Chicago and Brooklyn, followed by Boston. Take on Boston early on. There's your measuring stick, right? See where the Bucks are at. That's going to be in Boston too, right? This is a little bit of a road-heavy start to the year for the Bucks. So they're going to play on the road in Philly, come back home for Chicago, then go back on the road for Brooklyn, Boston, and Memphis before coming back home for Cleveland and then traveling to Cleveland for a game there. And then I believe the play-in tournament starts there in that area. But then they got Utah, New York, and then the Boston Celtics one more time there back at home. And then it gets a little bit of home heavy, right? They get a little home cooking going on. After that Knicks game, they go 3 in a row at home with Boston, Toronto, and the Pistons, followed by Charlotte. Then you got Houston, Chicago, Indiana, Charlotte, and then you go back on the road to Miami and come back home for Washington. And then you get a little road heavy again there. I was just looking through the schedule to see if there was a point on here where I was like, ooh, that's a tough stretch. I found it. This is a tough stretch moment right here. March, it's going to be late in the season. I'm looking around the rest of the schedule here, and some of these could be rough stretches, but I just don't think they're going to be. I think they're going to get to this rough stretch late in the year here. So I'm going to look late in the year. March 11th is going to be the start of it. I think it actually could start March 8th. We're going to go all the way back to March 5th. I'm going to go back to March 5th with this one. So after playing Dallas on the road, they're going to play the Hawks on the road. Then they come back home for Dallas on the 5th. Then the 8th, they play the Orlando Magic. The 9th, they're going to play Cleveland. The 11th, they go to Indiana to take on the Pacers. Then they come back home for the Lakers. Then they stay home for the Indiana Pacers. Then they play Oklahoma City at home, followed by going on the road, and this is their little West Coast road trip here, a long West Coast road trip. Let me change that up. They're going to have, after Oklahoma City, they're going to play the Lakers again, followed by Golden State, followed by Sacramento, then the Suns, then Denver, before coming back home and taking on the Knicks. Now, you can only speculate off of last season, right? But I don't think Steph and the Warriors will be bad again. I think they're going to put together a decent season. So you put the Warriors into perspective there, that's still going to be a tough matchup. And then you have sandwiched in there, you're going to have to take on the Lakers, who knows, right? LeBron is just, some people's GOAT, other people don't care. If you could see me, if I was live right now, you could see all the Michael Jordan stuff behind me, and you'd realize that I don't think LeBron is that good. But anyways, right? The Pacers, almost back-to-back, that's going to be tough, right? You got that tough little stretch. Who knows with the Suns, but I still think they're a good team. And then Denver, at Denver. That's a tough West Coast road trip in total there. When you go to LA to take on the Lakers, then Golden State, then Sacramento, then the Suns, then Denver, and then you come back home for the Knicks. That is rough. That is a rough stretch. You know what the Bucks need to make this rough stretch a little bit better? Chris Middleton to stay healthy. They just need a healthy Chris Middleton, and everything works itself out then. Everything would work itself out. That is going to be the big, I think the hinge on this season is, truthfully, how healthy do the Bucks stay? Can we keep Giannis out there? Can we keep Dame out there? What is Brook going to give us? And then at the end of the day, really, it's Middleton all season long. Can we keep Middleton for a full season? If Middleton's out there for a full season working with Dame and Giannis, I think this team is up near the top of the East. If we lose Middleton a quarter of the way through, and then it's like, we don't know if he's going to be back this week. We don't know if he's going to be back next week. I don't know when we're going to see Middleton again. Okay, then we get into some troubling times. Then it gets a little more troubling. So the schedule release, I mean, you guys can go. I'm not going to read through every single game, but I just went to my tough stretch there. But, I mean, the schedule for the Bucks early on, a lot of road games. I mean, it evens itself out as they go along here. But the Eastern Conference is starting to put together some good teams. You look at Cleveland, you look at Orlando, the Pacers, the Bucks, the 76ers, the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks, all these teams slowly building up. The Bucks are going to have to stay healthy, and then they're going to have to hope that some of these youth, some of the young guys, Andre Jackson Jr., some of these young guys like Green, maybe even the draft picks, find their way onto the roster doing good things for this Bucks team, because they're going to need it. They're going to need it because this is a tough schedule. This is a tough schedule. The more you look at it, the more you see bits and pieces where you're like, this is going to be a tough stretch for the Milwaukee Bucks. So hopefully, we're getting closer to October. We're going to be talking about the Bucks in some good talks here when it comes into fall here and we get into the winter, and we're talking about Badger basketball. Hopefully they're rolling, the Bucks are rolling. It makes everything better. Right? But we got to talk about a team now. That is definitely rolling. And that is the Milwaukee Brewers. Oh man, the Milwaukee Brewers. I gotta give it. Right. Hold on. I gotta. Wow. Just wow. I did not. I'm going to be completely truthfully honest with you right now. And I'll tell you this right now. I am a diehard Brewer fan, and I am usually the most optimistic person in the world. When I saw this stretch of games for the Brewers, and I saw the month that they had before it, and I saw this stretch of games, the Braves, the Reds, the Dodgers, and the Guardians all in a row, I said to myself, crap. After that National Series, I got nervous. I was like, oh, baby, right? At that point, we were probably 8 games up or 6 games up. I believe it's probably 6 games up on the Cardinals, on the Cubs, whoever was in second place at that point there. I don't completely recall. I think it was Cardinals, right? And I was like, oh, boy, here we go. I said it right then. I was like, this stretch of games could define the entire season for the Milwaukee Brewers. Just because of the magnitude of those games, this was the toughest stretch they were going to have. I believe this was going to be the toughest stretch that they were going to have, and it made me nervous. Right? They go and they sweep the Braves. They go to Atlanta, and they sweep the Braves. After the Braves took 2 of 3 from them at home, they go to Atlanta and they sweep it. And they don't just sweep it. They completely destroy the pitching staff that the Braves have. Chris Sale, everybody. They just lit them up. For everything. Then they got the Reds, right? Took game 1, took game 2. I was like, great, series win. That's all I'm asking for. All I'm asking for is a series win. Drop game 3, okay? Then they went on a little bit of a 3-game skid, right? They lost to that Reds game on Sunday. Then they had the loss to the Dodgers in the first 2, and I was sitting there like, crap. Dodgers have the Brewers number. Brewers don't seem to have an answer on the offensive side of the ball, or on the offensive side, and it just wasn't looking good. And then, game 3, Brewers pulled it out, right? And it was like, oh, okay, let's set up the rubber match. Game 4 of the series, let's set up the rubber match. 6-4 finish. 6-4 finish in that one. And that was like, yes. It was like, okay, we got 2 in a row now versus the Dodgers. Here come the Guardians, right? Here come the Guardians for the weekend set. Friday night's game set the tone for the series, I thought. Set the tone for the series. The Brewers jumped out early. Willy Adames, big 3-run home run early on in that one. I believe he's got 10 3-run home runs on the year. Willie's, I don't know. I'm going to leave this question up to you guys. I think I'm going to ask it out there tomorrow on the Facebook page and everything like that to hear you guys' opinions. Is Willy Adames playing himself to a payday? Is he paying himself to a payday right now? Or to a payday? That's what I'm wondering. Because the more and more we see Willy Adames and we see this guy consistently producing for the Brewers, right? 85 RBIs on the season. 85 RBIs. Over the last 7 games, he's hitting 280. Over the last 30 games, he's hitting 301, right? Over the last 30 games, he's hitting 301. 8 home runs, 23 RBIs, 11 walks. The 42 strikeouts aren't great, but when I got a guy who's giving me 23 RBIs and 8 home runs and 34 hits and a 301 average in that stretch, you live with it. You live with it. Is he playing himself to a payday? I don't know if he's paying himself to a payday with the Brewers, but he's paying him. He's working his way up to somebody, right? He's working his way up to somebody. I think somebody is going to pay him. I really do. I don't know how I feel about him going somewhere else than Milwaukee. I've said it all along. I believe the Brewers have shortstops in-house that you don't need to sit here and hang on to Willie, right? You got Joey Ortiz, you got Bryce Terang, right? You got shortstops. You got Biotini down there. You have shortstops that you can, for the future. But do you get rid of Willie? Do you let him walk? If he's willing to negotiate a contract with you, are you willing to just say, we're good, and let him walk out the door? It's going to be something to watch. It's going to be something to pay attention to. I don't know. I truthfully don't know what I would do right now. Right now, I don't think the Brewers could. I think they desperately need Willy Adames to be Willy Adames right now. I really do think they do. I don't think they would win games without Willie at this moment. Right? If you would have, say, traded him at trade deadline and then Yelich goes out, I don't think they'd be winning games like they are. I think he is, everybody says clubhouse. RBIs. I look at the RBIs department. Does he have the greatest average in the world with, I don't know what he ended the weekend with there. I'll double check on that one there. I was going to say 252, but I don't know what he ended the weekend there with. 253? A 253 average. Is it a great average? No. But the 85 RBIs, that's a difference maker. That's a difference maker in your order there. Now, is it worth Dansby Swanson money or somebody like that? Maybe not. Maybe not in that token for the Brewers, but definitely worth something. And do the Brewers bring him back? I guess it depends on how much you trust these other guys in the clubhouse to be able to produce in his spot. And also, if you find a RBI replacement for him, if you can find somebody out there to replace him in that department there, I think that's going to be the big thing there. But like I was saying, Willy Adames goes deep, big 3-run shot. Savali pitches a great game. I didn't think I was going to say that. I truthfully, I was a big advocate of, let's get rid of Savali. I'm done with this guy already. He's almost like Dallas. I saw Dallas Keuchel pitching in Japan already. I did not know he went over to Japan, right? But he was pitching pretty dominant in Japan, so good for him. Good for him to find some success over there in Japan. But Savali looks good. 6 innings, 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. Pitched a solid game for the Brewers there. Paguero, an inning there, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Bryce Wilson, 3 runs given up, 2 home runs given up. That's Bryce Wilson's Achilles heel, is the home run ball. It hurts him. I can't look past the Brewers pitching and say that this isn't the Achilles heel of the Brewers pitching staff. In total, there is the home run ball. But Bryce Wilson gives up 3 runs. Outside of that, Mears looks good, comes in for that 2/3 of an inning, gets him out of trouble, 2 strikeouts. Payamps, I'll be honest with you. This is what I wanted to see. I've been wanting to see this for a while now. Yoel Payamps is slowly starting to figure it out. Look at his last 3 games. 2 against Cleveland, 1 against the Dodgers. No hits, no runs. A strikeout in each one of his appearances there against Cleveland. But Yoel Payamps is starting to put this thing together. From where he was early on to what we're seeing now, night and day. night and day. You look at his last, I could go back. What am I looking here? I could go back almost until July 28th is the last time he gave up a run. And he's had 8 appearances since then. And before that run that he gave up on July 28th, which was on 1 hit, before that, you go all the way back to June 29th that he gave up a run. June was a rougher month for him there, but Yoel Payamps is starting to find it. Now, is he going to be that high leverage guy for you? Probably not. Probably not yet. You have Brian Hudson. You got Koenig, right? You got hopefully McGill coming back soon. Paredes has been good when he's been out there. Hopefully he's going to be on the mend and coming back soon here. And then now Devin Williams. So you got your big innings guys. Yoel Payamps could be that inning eater there in the 6th, right? I think that's huge. So I love that. I love seeing Yoel Payamps slowly starting to figure it out there. So that was game 1. Game 2 of the series, Brewers 2-1 finishing that one. Not a lot of offense. They had a run in the first there, and then they had a solo shot there from William Contreras there in that 4th inning, and that was the deciding factor in this one. Cleveland tied it in the top of the 4th. Contreras put him ahead in the bottom half of the 4th, and the Brewers went on to win that one 2-1 in that game there. It was on Fox. That game was on Fox there. Brewers lineup, Sanchez had that RBI double, and then Contreras with the home run, Adames with a hit, Mitchell with a hit. Nobody else really squeaking much in that game there. Only 2 guys left on base, so that tells you how much traffic there was. Freddie Peralta, talk about Achilles heel. 1 run given up on this game. It was a home run. That was it. That was it, a solo shot. That was it in this one. 4 hits otherwise and 3 strikeouts. Freddie looked good in this one. Payamps comes in, looks good again. 1 inning, 1 strikeout. Jared Koenig does what Jared Koenig does. 1 inning, 3 strikeouts. And then we see Devin Williams come in there for an inning there and zeros across the board. Devin Williams takes care of business in the 9th, gets his 4th save of the year on that night. That was great to see. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. And that set up the chance for the sweep on Sunday, yesterday there. Brewers get the win 2-0 there. 1 in the first, 1 in the second. All they needed in that one, as the pitching staff for the Brewers was the storyline for them over the weekend. We see Colin Ray, just a masterpiece. Just a masterpiece from Colin Ray. 7 innings, 2 hits, 5 strikeouts for Ray there. Took a no-hitter late into this one. I believe, I was just trying to double-check that one, but he took a no-hitter late in this game here. Then we see Brian Hudson for an inning and a strikeout. And Jared Koenig racks up his first save of his season here with 1 inning and zeros across the board there. That was masterful. 3 pitchers, get through a game, nice and easy. Gotta love it there. Brewers in this one, 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position, 4 guys left on base. Not a lot of offense in this series, a lot of pitching. A lot of pitching in this one, and the Brewers won the pitchers' duel here. So, that leads us to an off day today. Before they travel, they're going to be taking on the Cardinals. Then they have the Oakland A's. And then they'll have another off day before they take on the San Francisco Giants. So, little bit of an off day here. Catch your breath. Great homestand for the Brewers there. 7-3 on the homestand were the Brewers. If you really want to look back further than that, they are 13-3 over the 10-3. 10-3. Sorry about that. My math is off. 10-3 over their last 13 games. See, now I'm confused. Now I'm confusing myself. Over the last 13 games, they are 10-3. Great stuff. Great stuff there out of the Brewers. A little bit of a standings update after that one. 7-3 in their last 10 games. You look at them over this stretch here, they have pushed that lead out in the NL Central to 11 games. Cubs at 11.5 back. Reds, they're sitting 12. 13.5 are the Pirates, and the Cardinals are 11 games back. That's what you wanted to see. Everybody was talking about when the Brewers were struggling, at least the rest of the NL Central was struggling. I want to see the Brewers build the lead up. This is the lead. This is what I'm talking about. Now you just keep building on it, right? You have a series coming up with the Cardinals. You continue to extend that lead. Gotta love it. Gotta love it here, Brewer fans. Brewers, like I said, off day today before they will set up that series there with the Cardinals coming up tomorrow. from Busch Stadium. So with that, like I said, we'll get to the Packers tomorrow here on the show. I want to talk about more of that preseason game with the Broncos there, what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't like, everything like that. We'll get into that tomorrow here on the show. But like I always say, if you have a chance, go down, like the show, leave a review, subscribe to the show, let your friends know about the show, everything like that. That would be awesome if you could do that. And down in the bio, it says send us a text message. If you heard anything that I said today you didn't like, or you want to leave a review or send us a direct message, that's the place to do it. You just click send us a text message. You can send it directly to me, and I'll be able to look at it, feel bad, read it off on the show, whatever it is. I can definitely do that there, get your voice heard, get your opinion out there. So with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday. But until I talk to you guys again tomorrow, deuces.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for the light of day. Down to the river I have held the devil's hand, felt the weight of my own sin, burdened by the heart of man. Down to the river, down to the river. Up on barren